Hey guys, veganism and anti-natalism. This is a thing. It's a pretty popular thing among vegan YouTubers. Freelee and Durianrider and Vegan Gains and others saying that not only do they not like kids and they don't want any themselves, but that this is actually the right thing to do, that not having children is actually the moral thing to do. Many of you have asked me to do a video on this, and recently Freelee and Durianrider, they've talked about it a lot in the past, but they have a more recent video on Freelee's channel called Why I Hate Kids, where they express this rather haphazardly, like in many of their videos, but I think the main points are expressed well enough that I can critique it here.
I don't hate kids, that's really an exaggeration, but I don't like them. I'm going to be honest with you, don't punish me for being honest. I don't like kids.
Is this really a unique stance? I get the impression that many of us don't really like kids in general. I think unless it's our own children or children we're closely related to or spend a lot of time with, we probably tend to get annoyed easily by other kids, right? Kids we don't know. It's like that Seinfeld episode, you gotta see the baby. No one wants to see your damn baby. I think the same can be said for animals. My dad's a good example. He never wanted any pets when we were growing up, but we always had pets, cats and a dog, and over the years he ended up bonding with them. My mom got adopted a little Jack Russell Beagle mix last year that my dad did not want to adopt this dog, and now they are like the best of friends. It's so precious. And of course, farmed animals. You know, many vegans and others as well put a lot of value in visiting places like Farm Sanctuary and getting to spend time with these creatures that many of us just view as food, right? You know, I don't think I really like chickens. I would describe myself as a chicken lover, but I think if you gave me enough time, you know, to bond with a chicken, I think we'd probably bond. But maybe Freelee just really does not like kids and just doesn't want kids. That's fine. But I think wearing it as like a badge of honor and presenting it as this moral high ground, as she and other vegans are doing, I think it's weird, and I think it comes across as pretty misanthropic, which I think is an adjective that we vegans need to be distancing ourselves from.
Society is so, like, pushing women, especially, into having kids. I mean, like, in their teens, late teens, it's like, and even my mum, like, she's just doing what she's conditioned to do as well, is saying, like, when are you going to have grandkids? She's given that up now. But for a long time, she was like, when are you going to have grandkids? And why don't I have any grandkids?
There may be undue pressure from parents and society in general, you know, placed on women to get married and to have children, and on men as well. But I think there's also a level of wisdom and experience that a self-absorbed, I know everything woman who says she'll never have children just doesn't have. How many people, how many women, how many men in their, late teens, early 20s, late 20s, even 30s, have said that they hated children, didn't want kids, never going to have kids, and then went on to have kids, and then went on to say that raising kids was the most fulfilling thing they've ever done. It's not uncommon. So when my sister and I used to say that we're never having children, and my mom would reply, rather smugly, "We'll see." I get it now. And my sister, mother of two, she certainly gets it.
But we've got to think past our own selfish desires to the bigger picture.
Parents wanting their children to procreate when they come of age, of course, is not necessarily selfish. Again, for many, having children is the most rewarding experience in their lives, and it's something that they often credit with making themselves better, more compassionate and more patient people. It's unsurprising that these parents would want their children to experience the same. It really means that those people who are having children are being selfish. I think this is a really skewed view of parenthood. Raising children is hard work and involves a lot of sacrifices on the part of the parents. And if you're raising them vegan, it's probably even harder, given all the pressures to feed them animal products.
There's no reason that we need to pop out another hungry mouth to feed.
There's 153 million fucking orphans on the planet.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it when I found out that it's over 150 million. It's just like, it's crazy to have more kids.
That's like 7 times the population of Australia almost, like 6 times or something. That's crazy.
Yeah, so there's a lot of hungry a lot of hungry mouths to feed already.
Adoption and fostering are wonderful. There's no doubt about it. But I do find it interesting that seemingly none of these pro-adoption vegan couples actually end up adopting or fostering any kids. The excuse typically is something like, we don't like kids, we're happy the way we are, we like having the freedom to do whatever we want. I think this is weird. It's a little weird coming from vegans, especially people who are supposed to be the most compassionate, the least selfish, those who prioritize others' feelings and well-being over their own desire for pleasure and the freedom to do whatever they want. It's weird.
A lot of people are like, oh, you guys have got to have kids because they're going to be like, they're going to change the world, you know, they're going to be vegan leaders, and that's all very nice to think in that way. Hey, that might be a reality, but the chances of it not being a reality are far stronger.
Evidence? I don't think we can rely on recidivism rates of vegan adults, which are high, and apply them to kids who have grown up vegan. And we certainly can't rely on anecdotes. I'm not trying to downplay the extra difficulty in raising kids vegan, particularly for those with little to no support. You know, I'll bet there's a huge difference between raising a kid vegan with a partner who is also vegan versus raising a kid with a partner who is not. There's also likely a huge difference between raising a kid vegan in Portland, Oregon, and raising one vegan in Bucksnort, Tennessee. And yes, that is a place.
Kids are kids. Kids are people. They have their own thoughts, their own desires, all that sort of stuff. So you can only do your best. But I've seen so many families, like vegan families who brought their kids up vegan and then they're just gone to McDonald's after
Fucking
that.
oath, bro.
Just become real little consumers.
First, this could just be confirmation bias. Freelee and Harley, they remember the vegan kids who fail and not the ones who succeed because that's the narrative they want to sell, right? That kids aren't going to stay vegan, so why bother? Second, they both exaggerate or even outright lie almost constantly. They say you'll get lean eating tons of fruit, tons of carbs, after getting fat for a few years first, of course. Based on no evidence, except it worked for us, so it'll work for you too. Durianrider says that he cured his Crohn's disease eating a vegan diet, a high-carb vegan diet, even though he was never actually diagnosed with the disease. And then, of course, they are known for blocking people who disagree with them and deleting posts from people on their forum who talk about, you know, having negative experiences with their raw till 4 diet. Quite frankly, I trust both of them about as far as I can throw them. The other important thing to note, an important question, is what kind of vegan families is Freelee talking about? Are we talking about sensible vegans who feed their kids, you know, nutritionally competent vegan diets? Or are we talking about woo-woo crazy vegans who feed their kids fruit and lettuce all day and don't get them vaccinated? If it's the latter, it's no wonder those kids don't stay vegan.
Here's the fucking thing, you unicorn riders. You think that you're gonna, I'm gonna have kids with this fucking lovely guy and this is gonna be the best thing ever. I'll tell you what, it ain't. That's delusion.
It's a lot of responsibility.
0.01% reality. Most fucking relationships get fucked up. They end in divorce, single parents, man. That's most. That's your. That's most.
No, the divorce rate is about 50%, and perhaps even lower than that for those who have children. Although, please don't have children to avoid a breakup. That's so terrible. Second, divorce isn't always the worst thing in the world. According to Louis C.K., divorce is the best part about getting married. It's hard to be a bad parent when you only have to see him for half the week.
Girls, think about it before you just go and have
Think
sex
before
with
you
some
fuck.
guy. Yeah, definitely. And wear a condom. Don't be an idiot and not wear a condom with a guy, because you might get some sort of disease and you might end up with a child.
Yeah, man.
You know, and guys don't fuck girls without condoms, you know? Be fucking smart.
Yes, but this doesn't really have anything to do with two consenting adults deciding whether or not they want to have children. This just sounds like fear-mongering to me.
Most guys don't give a fuck if you get pregnant because you're the one who has to have the abortion or whatever. They're guys who just want, they're just going to get a load out, load in.
That's right.
So like, girls don't fucking understand this. Most guys are just like horny dogs. I want to fucking bust a nut into her. They don't really give a fuck what's going to happen to you. You're going to be at the abortion clinic doing all that shit, or taking the toxic chemicals morning after pill.
Even more fear-mongering, villainizing the opposite sex in order to create hostility, in order to encourage his fan base to not have children. He sounds like Vegan Gains in his Why I'm Getting a Vasectomy video, only switch the genders. And toxic chemicals, Is Harley really criticizing abortions now? He claims to care so much about overpopulation and unwanted births, and yet he wants to demonize one of the best tools we have for reducing both of these? Of course, he's anti-contraceptive pills as well, so it makes sense. And I'm sure he's anti-non-vegan condoms also, with, vegan condoms being ridiculously expensive and hard for many to find. I guess his message essentially is get a vasectomy or don't have sex. I guess that fits his permanent birth control agenda pretty well.
And
you don't have to have kids.
You don't have to have kids.
Double income, no kids. Dinks. Best lifestyle ever. We wake up every fucking day doing what the fuck we want to do.
And non-vegans get to wake up every day and eat whatever the fuck they want to eat. Is this really the kind of message that vegans should be spreading? Do whatever the fuck you want to do? Harley, you sound like the Hodgetwins.
It's your life, it's not your parents' life, it's not your grandparents' life, it's your life. Make the final decision. Don't go there. I'm telling you, even if you love kids, that's great. Go and volunteer in an orphanage, go and help out at a school, do something like that. You don't have to pop one out yourself.
It's your life, make your own decisions. Now don't have kids. Yeah, it makes sense. Oh, and also be a creeper who hangs around at preschools and plays with other people's kids. Yeah, enjoy being put on the sex offender list.
We've got a big fucking problem here. People are eating animals left, right, and centre. We're destroying, raping the environment, the ocean. It's a bad situation.
World,
do you want to bring the kids into that situation?
Freelee's train of thought is, it's so derailed. It's kind of hard to figure out what point she's trying to make here. Is she trying to say that bringing kids into the world is unethical because the world is so terrible that they're bound to live miserable lives? For those unfortunate enough to live in a war-torn developing country in perpetual poverty, then yeah, that may be true. Or for those who otherwise aren't financially stable enough to care for a child. But for the vast majority of people, particularly for those of us living in the developed world, we're pretty happy to be alive. Freelee and Durianrider certainly seem happy to be alive with their perpetual holiday lifestyles. Yes, we are all going to die someday. But is that existential dread really a reason not to live in the first place? We are going to die, and that makes us the lucky ones. Most people are never going to die because they are never going to be born. The potential people who could have been here in my place, but who will in fact never see the light of day, outnumber the sand grains of Arabia. Certainly those unborn ghosts include greater poets than Keats, scientists greater than Newton. We know this because the set of possible people allowed by our DNA so massively exceeds the set of actual people. In the teeth of these stupefying odds, it is you and I, in our ordinariness, that are here. We privileged few, who won the lottery of birth against all odds, how dare we whine at our inevitable return to that prior state from which the vast majority have never stirred? Or is Freelee implying that the impending apocalyptic scenario that's a product of human action, that this will make life miserable for everyone, including our children? This may very well be if we don't do something about it now, which is why it's more important than ever to eat more sustainably by avoiding animal products and by not consuming 5,000 calorie diets of fruit and palm oil. We can avert catastrophe by working together to encourage more ethical, sustainable practices. Let's pose a thought experiment. Are people going to be more or less invested in the future of the planet and the environment if they have children? Opting out of procreation, this may be a great way for people to feel less connected and more indifferent with regard to the future of the Earth. This may be one of the reasons why Freelee and Durianrider seem to have no problem eating huge amounts of palm oil-based junk food, and huge amounts of fruit, rather than eating a sustainable vegan diet of beans and whole grains and seeds with limited amounts of fruits and vegetables. Maybe they don't really care that much about the environment because they aren't invested in it. Like I said in a recent video, going vegan, it changes our outlook on the world because it forces us to start to care about others, much like becoming a parent. For otherwise indifferent young people growing up and having children, it means they now have to care about something outside of themselves. We can only delay catastrophe by slightly slowing growth. The only way we can avert it is by fundamentally changing the way that we think and act. And a big part of that comes down to motivating that change for the future generation. If we have a chance of saving this planet, we will do it for our children. not in spite of them. Or maybe Freelee is implying that we should advocate for antinatalism because of the harm that humans cause to non-human animals and to the environment. If so, what is the goal here? To eradicate the human race? First, that is impossible. Voluntary extinction only works when people volunteer, and not everyone is going to. All you end up doing is creating a selective pressure that favors the indifferent and those with a very strong desire to reproduce, while culling the compassionate and responsible. Is this really a better world? If you have ever seen Idiocracy, this is basically voluntary dysgenics in practice. It's probably a good thing that Freelee and Durianrider aren't reproducing for this very reason. Although given their level of contempt for the masses that would score off the charts on the Dunning-Kruger scale, it's hard to imagine why they would advocate for this kind of thing. Second, if it were possible to eradicate humanity, voluntarily or not, would this be a good outcome? We have a unique opportunity here today in the context of profound social progress, and we have the opportunity to build upon that success by further reducing suffering. If we just hit the reset button, what would happen then? Nature abhors a vacuum, and the ecological niche of human beings will be filled. Who will be next in line? Chimpanzees? Does Freelee think they'll be nicer? Jane Goodall fell into that trap for a long time, and she had this to say about the chimpanzee war. Yes, there was a chimpanzee war, which she witnessed firsthand. For several years, I struggled to come to terms with this new knowledge. Often, when I woke in the night, horrific pictures sprang unbidden to my mind. Satan, one of the apes, cupping his hand below Sniff's chin to drink the blood that welled from a great wound on his face. Old Rodolph, usually so benign, standing upright to hurl a 4-pound rock at Godey's prostrate body. Jomeo tearing a strip of skin from Day's thigh. Figgin charging and hitting again and again the stricken, quivering body of Goliath, one of his childhood heroes. So this idea that human beings are somehow special and unique in our cruelty is based on what evidence exactly? How can we be so sure that the cycle won't repeat? Even if we were to completely eradicate macroscopic life on Earth, it would probably just be back in a few 100 million years, and then whatever species were here would have at least billions of years to be just terrible to each other, until the sun expanded into a red giant and swallowed the planet. The only way that I feel confident that it won't is if human beings remain the dominant species, since we've left at least most of our barbarous history behind us, animal agriculture being the main holdout. We also need to push harder than the regressives to continue on the path to a more compassionate, more sustainable society. For me, that means having children and contributing to the next generation that will take our places. It means doing the best I can to teach them right from wrong and to raise them to be compassionate and responsible adults, as my parents did for me. And even if our kids aren't perfect, whatever that means, it's doubtful that they will fall so far from the tree. Maybe they end up as flexitarians. That's pretty awesome. It's certainly a positive contribution to human social progress relative to the norm. So, to summarize, Freelee and Durianrider don't want to have children. They like doing whatever the fuck they want to do and spending money on themselves. Instead of admitting that, they wear it as some sort of badge of honor and talk about adoptions and orphans, clearly with no desire or intention of doing anything about these issues. It's very odd hearing such a selfish lifestyle, held up as the most moral option, particularly when it's coming from vegans. More importantly, I think it is a terrible message to associate with the vegan movement. For one thing, it perpetuates the notion that vegans are inherently misanthropic, or in this case, misopidic, hatred of children. And it, again, cements this idea in people's mind that we love non-human animals and care more about non-human animals than we do about human animals. And unfortunately, for some vegans, this seems to be the case. It seems they forget that humans are animals too. Second, Freelee and others are alienating virtually everyone. Most people either want to have children or already have children, and in the case of the latter, she's essentially telling them that they made the wrong choice, a choice that they believe is one of the best choices, the best decision that they've ever made. It's kind of like shouting meat is murder. It's doubtful you are going to get many people to listen to you if from the get-go you are calling them a murderer. Finally, this message encourages people who are compassionate and responsible vegans not to have children. Although, if it encourages vegans like Freelee and Durianrider not to have children, those who would likely feed their kids inadequate vegan diets and deny them proper medical care, this is probably a good thing. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've gotten, particularly recently, I've gotten a lot of requests for a video on anti-natalism and responses to Freelee and others. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too long. If you watch my videos, you should be used to that by now. Most of my videos are kind of long. Sorry. Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did and you're not subscribed, I said it right, consider subscribing. Also, if you want to support me, you can do so at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan, or you can do it right here on YouTube on my channel page on the right hand side. Yeah, or I guess for you that would be that side, whatever. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will have a new video very soon. Quite frankly, I trust both of them about as far as I can throw them. Actually, that may be pretty far. They're both pretty light.